That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet.
When you could not prove anyone right or wrong, all the expertise was contained in the people involved in the conversation.
We hope you enjoy our conversations, and as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, "That don't sound right," send us a comment. You're one of us.
And someone made the claim that they had heard or probably read in an article, or at least the first couple sentences of an article, that a golf ball carries further in humid air. Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We're co-hosts. I'm Peter Billman.
I'm Cecil Davis.
And we're just trying to have a conversation without Google or fact-checking. Those things can so easily kill the conversation.
And going back to some of our other early episodes that kept a lot of conversation going about picking up things on the side of the road.
Oh, our Roadside Find series.
I sent an emergency roadside find out to y'all.
Well, I know it was like a level 7 or level 8. High danger.
It was a high danger.
And it would look like low reward, if you ask me.
And it was a brand new pair of clippers.
Yeah.
I like garden clippers. I was waiting for someone to go and pick those up. I should have gotten them.
Why didn't you get them?
Well, I have my family in the car, and I didn't want to endanger. I'm okay with endangering myself. I'm not okay with endangering my entire family.
So what was the situation?
Left-hand turn lane.
Okay.
So you would have to be kind of in the right position in the left-hand turn lane to get out and get them with other cars coming up on your side.
Mm-hmm.
It just was a bad situation because it was kind of in the middle of a lane. There was no way to get across.
Well, I saw the clippers. I was not enticed.
Oh, it was good. They were like a good pair of Fisker planners.
Were they Fiskers?
I think they were Fisker.
They didn't look like Fiskers.
I think they were.
All right. Well, I still wasn't enticed. But...
Yeah, they were gone when I went back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you by yourself and ready to pick them up?
I went back and decided I was going to try to figure out how to do them, but they were gone.
Okay.
But you've got an episode for us tonight.
Interesting discussion we had at work the other day. We had some golfers, we were talking, and someone made the claim that they had heard or probably read in an article, or at least the first couple sentences of an article, that a golf ball carries further in humid air than dry air. And I paused and I said, that don't sound right. And I thought, maybe you and I can try to tackle this.
Why does that sound right to you? It doesn't sound right to me either.
Well, I guess if I think about the air as being humid, it has more, particles in it.
Moisture.
The moisture droplets, microscopic. Yes. And I would think that having that in the air would provide additional resistance to the ball traveling in the air, trying to push through the humidity.
I agree. I guess that's the end of the episode.
And we're done. But however,
All right.
The flip side of that is what's another characteristic about humid air?
It holds more water.
Yeah.
Well, it's humid because it is holding more water.
Mm-hmm.
What makes it hold more water?
Well, first of all, it's the dew point.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about warm air, humid air, it's generally warm.
Yes.
Generally warmer. And what we know about warm air is that it is less dense
than cold air.
Than cool air.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if that it's not necessarily the humid air, it's just the fact that humid air is generally warm air, that is less dense. Ball will carry further than that. It's probably better and just easier to go straight to the point and say warm air. In warm air, a golf ball will carry further than cold air, which I don't disagree with that.
I don't disagree with that. But I do disagree with that humid air versus dry air.
Humid air, what's that? Then humid air should
slow it down.
So
I think we need to put some things on the table first.
Let's do that.
Are you a golfer?
You know what? I'm not. I used to consistently play once a year, and I found that inadequate to be called a golfer or even to enjoy golf.
I'm not a golfer.
Yeah.
I have played par 9.
Yeah.
No, that's not right. Par 3. 9 holes, par 3. Is that right? Yeah, okay. Yeah. See, obviously I'm not a golfer. And I've been on maybe a handful of golf courses with other people just driving the buggy.
Yeah.
What's it called?
The golf cart.
The golf cart. But this sounds like a golf 2 or 3 beers in conversation.
It does, maybe even a golfing urban legend.
Because you're not hitting them well, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, the air's really
I like that.
dry today. And then the other guy, the guy that's with you, he's like, no, that travels further in humid air.
Now here's
it travels less. No, it travels further in warm air. And so there's this whole debate, right, on the little golf buggy.
My ball is just not carrying.
Right.
Because it's so dry out.
Yeah.
That's what the argument is, right? It's so dry out, the ball won't carry.
Right.
Maybe the argument is that the humidity in the air serves as lubrication for the ball to slide through the air. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's...
So this brings up a larger thing to me about golfing, and there's a lot of stuff here. Because I hear people talk about really fast greens.
Yes.
And slow greens.
Yes. I've played enough golf to have experienced that.
Is that just based on... So we're not talking about air temperature anymore, right?
No.
We're talking about the drag of the grass.
Basically.
Is it just different types of grass on the green?
It's how close it's cut.
Mm-hmm.
It's also how hard the ground is below it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. If that ground is very dry and hard as a rock and the grass is very short, it's going to be a super fast green. If they cut it just a little bit longer, it's going to slow it down. In fact, I was just talking with some guys today at work. The U.S. Open just happened. And it happens in a golf course in Pennsylvania outside of Pittsburgh.
Right.
And it's supposed to be known as one of the hardest, if not the hardest golf course in the country.
I've heard that. I also heard, you can tell me, or maybe some golfers can tell me if this is true, that they can make the greens different speeds.
Yes, exactly. No, that's
by switching out the turf.
Right. They can just the way, I don't know about switching out the turf, but definitely the way it's cut and how much it's watered. And they take a great pride in making this one of the toughest courses by making the greens super fast. So just a tap, the ball will not slow down. But the other thing they do is they make the roughs extra long, 6 inches.
The grass has to be that high.
Well, yeah, and the rough outside of the main fairway, they make that grass 6 inches tall. And so when the ball goes in there, 9 times out of 10, you're not even finding the ball because it's so deep.
This is why I have no interest in golf.
Why is that? Because the challenge?
Well, if I'm having to think about, I can't imagine anybody that's dribbling the basketball is thinking about air, humidity, or the height of, anything like physics related.
Oh, I bet you they think about the court. I bet you they think about how slippery the court is, how much traction they have on the court, how the ball grabs the court.
Think there's fast courts and slow courts?
I think there's a difference. I don't know if it's fast or slow, but I think there's a difference. I think one of the things about Cameron Indoor Stadium is how the crowd is so close to the court.
Yeah,
that's very difficult to manage. It's harder to play in.
I'll bet you'll remember this.
Yeah.
Do you remember when NC State paved their court with the tartan floor?
What's the tartan?
It was like the rubberized floor. They didn't have hardwoods for their basketball court.
No.
And Reynolds, until they renovated Reynolds, you could go in there and still see that old tartan floor.
Tartan?
I think it's called Tartan, but it was a poured floor. Yeah.
It was kind of rubbery?
It was kind of rubbery.
Did the ball bounce extra?
I don't think so. But there was controversy. I remember it was a big deal when they had this different kind of court.
Yeah, well, I mean, the substructure underneath the court, right? That sometimes the court is just laid right on top of concrete.
Yeah.
Other times there's a substructure underneath of it.
Yeah.
And they put the court on top of that. I bet you that has a different feel and a different bounce to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So basketball, I think just about every sport they think about physics. You can't escape physics.
So, I've also, swim team's big here in where we live.
Yeah.
And I've heard about fast pools.
Ooh,
or Olympic pools that are fast.
Whoa,
Olympic pools.
That don't sound right.
Because of the temperature of the water.
Okay.
You would think water is water.
Right.
And changing the temperature by a degree or two, I wouldn't But I guess if you're winning by hundredths of a second, maybe.
Maybe so. I
Maybe it
mean,
does.
is the density of water? I mean, it obviously changes with temperature.
Yeah.
But going back to the golf ball,
All right, we're going back.
I think going back to the golf ball, while the humidity may play a role, and the air temperature and density of the air may play a role.
Mm.
I think that breeze coming out of the northwest probably has the biggest impact, and the fact that you shanked it has the biggest impact.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm worried about the humidity, my game has gotten really, really
next
good.
level too,
yeah. If the humidity is affecting my shot,
you've been playing more than once a year.
yeah. Or if I'm bouncing a basketball and I can tell you, well, I really don't like this surface.
Oh yeah. Well,
I've been playing a lot of basketball.
Remember Inflategate from the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
These quarterbacks can tell quarter of a pound PSI difference in their football.
Yeah. If you're doing something over and over like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I did see a little clip one time, like on Instagram, and I don't remember the basketball player's name, NBA player. He was bouncing the ball and he lost his dribble. Now, you or I, if we lost our dribble, we would assume that we had messed up.
I can't. I mean,
so
losing a dribble.
He's just dribbling the ball, and the ball just kind of careens off.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, so he loses his dribble. I would assume that I had just lost the dribble because I had done something wrong.
That's kind of my thing. I just lose the dribble.
Yeah, this player instantly blamed the floor.
Really?
And was correct.
What did he find?
There was one of the panels of the hardwood floor had become dislodged or whatever, or was dead, and there was a dead spot in the floor.
Really?
Yeah.
See, there it is. So they do worry about it.
Yeah. So if you're so good
that you can figure,
that you don't blame yourself, that you think there's a dead spot in the floor, that's pretty good.
Think about a baseball player, a pitcher.
What?
A pitcher.
Okay.
Can sense that the place where his foot lands as he's throwing the ball has to be just the right height for him. That's why they're always messing around. They're kicking the dirt around. They're getting that just in the right place. So when they throw and they land on that front foot, it lands in the same spot.
Can they do that? Can they adjust the mound?
Sure, they can. Yeah, they're moving dirt around all the time. I mean, just very minute.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that was legal.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's legal. It's the little tricks they play.
Yeah, I've also heard that going back to golf. Okay, so your shot there can be fast greens.
Yeah, fast greens.
High roughs.
They can move the ball. They can move the hole in that green in just a matter of
seconds,
minutes. Yeah. Right? They get a ways of moving the hole. So the next round, you come through the next round, the hole might be on a different spot.
And I guess they have it figured out the different angles of the green, the way the ball is going to roll, depending on where you have the hole.
Oh, I bet you that's all very calculated to mess you up.
Right. So you have all these things, but you also have the ball itself, right?
Yeah.
It's full of dimples. And doesn't that cause it to travel further?
The dimples may definitely make a difference.
Is that like rifling?
No, it's not. It's different than rifling. Rifling
creates spin,
and that makes the bullet stable. It doesn't want to tumble. It wants to go. It wants to keep its point into the wind.
Yep.
And so it won't tumble. Now, what dimples do is it's funny. What it does is it breaks up the airflow right at the edge of at the surface of the golf ball. It creates. Do
you know this for a fact?
I do know this. This is
you're being very, very confident in your
answer. But this is the Bielman effect. That's fine. But no,
so it breaks up the air at the edge. It breaks up
right. And so what happens is it allows the air to actually flow around the ball and then behind it. And then what that does is it reduces the amount of suction that's behind the ball.
So it gives it lift?
No, it just what it does is it changes the difference in the pressure between the front of the ball and at the back of the ball. And if you have the greater the pressure difference, the more resistance the ball is experiencing through the air. And so what you want to do is you want to reduce the amount of resistance or the pressure in the back of the ball.
Who thought of this? Like who cared enough to figure that out?
I forgot how they figured this works.
I wonder if there's like rules for how many dimples you can have on a golf ball. I wonder if you can cheat it, is what I'm saying.
No, I don't think there's a rule.
Because we were just talking about
there's a certain amount of number that you can just fit on, and then there's just the right size and depth that you put on there.
But that's what I'm saying is that just like with Inflategate, you can change the pressure in the ball.
Right.
I wonder if you could change the dimple size.
Yeah, of course you could. But
and if there's rules for that.
I don't think there is. I don't think there's rules for it.
Huh.
So this is, I think the way I remember hearing about this is that when they played, they used to use a certain, I forgot what the material what the ball was made out of.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, the ball would get nicks and dings in it because it was smooth.
Mm-hmm.
But it would get nicks and dings. And over time, they realized that the more nicks and dings they got on it, it went further. The older the ball, it went further. So someone got the idea as well, let's introduce some nicks and dings.
Right.
Let's introduce these dimples. And then they figured, the ball does go farther.
I'm sure they've done research on it.
And then they've done wind tunnel tests on it so they can see. And this is the same. I mean, believe it or not, we use the same technique on automobiles.
Dimpling?
Not putting dimples in just the right spot. Or what you do is you disrupt the air in just the right spot. So go around your car. Mm-hmm. Go around your car and you'll see little protrusions here and there, especially on newer cars, these more aerodynamic cars. You'll see different protrusions on different corners of your lights or your side mirrors. And what these are doing is they're breaking up they're creating some turbulence so the air doesn't flare out away from the car, but sticks to the car. Right. And reduces the back pressure or actually the back vacuum, which essentially reduces the drag and improves fuel economy.
Yeah, the first time I really understood this, it was actually very recently. I watched Ford versus Ferrari, and they took a ball of yarn and taped yarn all over the car.
Yeah.
Do you remember that scene? And so as they were driving around the track, they could tell at what speed the air wasn't flowing properly around the car.
Yeah, exactly.
And then try to correct it. I didn't realize they were doing that on modern cars. Does it really matter like on a passenger car?
Sure does. It sure does. 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. I mean, we are trying to get tenths of % improvements in aerodynamics.
Y'all do that on a big truck?
We do. Mm-hmm.
So all this is going into the game of golf of dry air,
humid air.
How the ball is made. Yeah.
I wish we could see live who's listening.
Right. All the golfers have thrown their phones out the window at this point. I'm sure it's a high dollar business now, trying to make all the equipment make golfers better. Like you're trying to buy equipment. Because I think like in a game like golf, if you're a bad golfer, you're a bad golfer. Mm-hmm. But if you're a moderate golfer and you buy good equipment, it may give you a bit of a boost, I would think.
Oh, it would give you an advantage.
Especially, I've seen those putters now that look like they're
the putters,
2 foot wide. They have the marks on them so you can line them up.
Well, what used to be woods, they're still called woods, but they're not made out of wood anymore. They're made out of special, I don't know what they're made out of, probably hollow aluminum with composite carbon fiber shafts that give you that give you more of a whipping effect when you go there and hit it. I mean, if you have that kind of control, then those things will help you.
Is that a sport if you've got all that kind of stuff in it?
Of course it is.
No.
Of course. Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. I mean, when was the last time? Just go. You know what we should do? We should record an episode at Top Golf.
Okay.
All right.
Why?
And you will be reminded how difficult it is to hit a golf ball.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's not difficult. I'm just saying, is it sport?
It is definitely sport. It requires a certain amount of skill and a certain amount of patience and a certain amount of effort to hit the perfect shot.
I think we're going to end up having a whole episode on what is sport and what is hobby.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So you say golf is a sport?
Absolutely. I also say automobile racing is a sport.
Oh, I 100% say automobile racing.
See, so
not a sport.
People would argue that automobile. Oh, you don't think it's a sport?
Oh, no.
You don't think automobile racing is a sport?
No.
Okay,
it's an enthusiasm.
We could definitely have.
Now, I'm not saying that the guys that drive NASCAR or Indy are not in top physical shape.
Yeah,
and are athletic or could be considered athletes.
Yeah,
but they are not athletes participating in a sport. They're driving a car.
Nah. Motorsports, man. Motorsports.
It's called motorsports, but this is a whole other episode.
You're right. But it's a competition to do something better than
it is a competition.
Right.
But it's not sport.
Oh, we'll have to define. We'll have to define
Oh man,
sport.
I'm writing that in my.
Jot it down. Jot it down. I don't know if this is
I didn't know we would disagree on this, but here we go. Sport versus hobby.
What don't sound right about that? Okay, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I think we should come up with some sports that don't sound right that they would be sports. How's that?
I think someone once told me that if you can drink a beer while you're doing whatever you're doing, that's not a sport.
Oh, come on. Come on, there's plenty of sports.
That's what hobby
Every
is.
sport you can do that.
Not at the professional levels.
Oh, okay. Now you're talking.
This is a whole other episode.
Okay, that's a whole other episode.
All right. Well, we started out talking about golf balls. No, we didn't. Yeah, golf balls traveling through dry air and here.
So we
and
agreed
we've ended
that
up.
humidity doesn't sound right, but there are other reasons that a golf ball would not travel, which usually has to do with our skill and maybe the wind.
Yeah, humidity. The humidity is not messing up my
golf
game.
It's the least of my problems.
Yeah. Any more than
3 beers in, it's a problem, but at the start of it, it's not a problem.
The sun is not what ended my baseball career.
That's right.
The floor is not what ended my basketball career. All right. Well, don't sound right, but you have come to the end of this episode of That Don't Sound Right.
Hey, before we close, we want to thank everyone for listening. If this is your first time and enjoyed the conversation, would you consider hitting the subscribe button on the platform you listen with? Also, if you're a longtime listener, give us a rating. Leave us a review so others can easily find us and join the conversation. We have an email, tdsrpodcast@gmail.com. Don't be afraid to send us an email. We love getting your emails. We love talking about them. We need to plan a mailbag episode real soon.
All right. That Don't Sound Right is a production of TSR Podcast in conjunction with Camel City Studios. I'm your co-host and sound engineer, Cecil. Peter is your other host and web designer. Camille is your barista. Emily does your graphic design. Ella does your Instagram. Giorgio tests our merchandise. Brent is our international brand ambassador. And as always, listener number one is Scott. So until next week, keep talking.
And stay curious.